What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today when I talk to you about Virgin Galactic, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's been really happening with this company and whether you need to buy it right now or not. Before getting to any of that, make sure you hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Virgin did go up 1.49% on Friday, 329 the low, 345 the high. So Virgin definitely is still struggling. It was inches away from a 52-week and all-time low. So things aren't really going according to plan. And unfortunately, my last video was almost like 4 months ago, where I did state that their only catalyst is their low expectations from their earnings. And their earnings just happened a couple weeks ago, and they actually did beat on their key metrics. So they beat on earnings per share as well as revenue, but the expectations for their earnings was just so low. The market still didn't really see all that much upside. They didn't really give any good future catalysts. Obviously 2026 is going to be a big year for this, but from now until basically then, there's not really much going on that you need to like stop what you're doing and kind of just directly buy this stock. Even though the news that came out in, I think, January, where they did partner with Redwire, I think that's good. Definitely very good stuff, but again, that is not a short-term catalyst. That's more so for at least later. So I think at the end of the day, Virgin is just stuck, and their whole sector, so not just Virgin, but their whole sector does require a huge amount of cash. And from their last earnings, you can kind of see that they have roughly 178.6 million in cash equivalents, 384.6 in short-term investments. If I remember correctly, a lot of that is I guess available second half of 2025, if I remember correctly. But nonetheless, I always like to look at this for face value as far as a good indicator of dilution. So 178.6 million, and they are burning through roughly 81 million from operations. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to determine that they will be needing to dilute probably at somewhere in Q2 2025. And if they are able to access even some of this, then they could probably push it to, let's say, Q3. But nonetheless, there's dilution coming, and the market as of right now is cutthroat. Any company that's just excessively diluting, burning a lot of cash, like, nobody really wants it. And even based on this, no transactions on the secondary market over the last 90 days. So big money just does not want anything to do with this stock. And that's been kind of the unfortunate case for a while. And yeah, the market could go through an expansionary stage where it will start to get hype again. But until that does happen, I think just Virgin is stuck between a rock and a hard place. And while it's kind of stuck there, it is getting heavily manipulated. So 30.11% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 10.19 million shares overall are being shorted. And on Friday, shorts did increase roughly 4,000 shares. Nothing overly crazy, but you do see some signs of manipulation. So cost to borrow minimum is 0. So essentially that does mean that a broker out there is not charging anyone to short this stock. So again, you can kind of see that as a little bit of manipulation, but the reasoning why I feel like this whole circumstance is playing out and why Virgin is going down is because if you aren't having these institutional like purchases, then you're having lower volume historically. And if you have a high presence of shorts, they can easily dictate what happens. Whenever any stock has low volume, like, shorts can play it like a puppet essentially. And that's unfortunately what is happening with Virgin. But aside from all of that, though, there's been some pretty interesting updates ever since their earnings coming from Analyst. So you have roughly one came out 5 days ago, $4.50 price target, a buy TD Cohen, Oliver, who has a 52% success rating. Aside from that, you had a couple 8 days ago and 9 days ago. So you had a $4 hold by Charles, 43% success rating. And then you had this. So 8 days ago, $36 price target, Goldman Sachs, and Noah, 48% success rating. I initially thought that was a glitch in error. Maybe they meant $3.60, just didn't move it over. But they actually wrote an article and everything. And yeah, they cut their price target from 41 to 36. So I think in general, space is going to do a lot of good things this decade. But if you're one of those individuals that's trying to catch the bottom, I feel like right now isn't the optimum time to buy. But similar to this analyst, they are thinking outside the box and far down the line. And ultimately, yeah, you could make some really good money if you just kind of put your head down, ignore the noise, and just come back by like 2028, 2029. Then yeah, this stock hopefully will be doing a lot of good things at that stage. But again, if you're trying to catch the bottom, then it's definitely a little bit more of a sticky scenario. But 134,000 in calls, that was done on Friday, 146,000 in puts. 57% of all the options being done on Friday were bearish in nature, and of the call options, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $4 range going into next week. And then for the bears, they're anticipating for it to be sub 350, so kind of on a key pivot right now. And with it right at 341, it is trading between these 2 points, so this S1 and this S2. So 332 is going to be a strong support, followed by 286. Flip side, 361, and then 407 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So essentially what happened on Friday, you had a lot of fear due to some data that did come out. So unemployment numbers were slightly above forecast. So I'll show you this. So it came in at 4.1 versus a forecast of 4. Powell did come out though, and he stated that the economy is fine, the economy is doing good, and potentially we just won't see any rate cuts for the foreseeable future, probably tail end of Q2, maybe even Q3. Market seems to disagree with that point, but nonetheless, that's what really pushed the market higher on Friday. So I think if that momentum does continue, big money will be looking for discounted stocks such as Virgin Galactic. So again, that might be potentially happening behind the scenes. So let me know your general thoughts on that. One thing I do want to bring up though is that there is 0 shares available to be shorted. So going into this upcoming week, shorts are kind of stuck in a very difficult scenario. But on the actual chart itself, I have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, ALMA, super trend, and stochastic RSI. Basically, stochastic RSI does signal that it is rather oversold, so that could again help it going into this upcoming week. Couple of key points to really watch for: 488 is that 50-day moving average, and in Virgin's case, that is a very key pivot. It was really trying to break out in the beginning of January. Unfortunately, it did bounce off that 50-day moving average, so that's going to be a key level to really watch for in the short term. So yeah, like I said, if you're one of those individuals that's trying to catch the bottom, there might be a little bit more downside. But if we have, let's say, a nice value rally, or if you have a long-term mentality, then yeah, you can make some pretty good money off of this. So it's all about timing. That's the bad thing. And even back in like when it was like at the 30s, a lot of people were screaming saying that this was a massive buying opportunity. And so yeah, it's all about timing and mentality, like I said. So even if you have a mentality of like, hey, I want to hold it up until 2030, then these are going to be a steal of a deal of pricing. So let me know your general thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, if you're looking for buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto, pop over to my Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.